tes 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 tes.
Are you just going to keep standing around or what?
Sorry, I'm just getting prepped over here.
Sabar Sion, sabar. Oke deh. Kita lanjut. Sebentar. Tes dulu ngelek atau enggak. Aman. Oke, ini aku pause aja biar durasi makanannya nggak habis ya. Jadi aku mau recap dulu yang kemarin. Sebelumnya tadi aku ke bawah dulu juga ke tempat tempat mana tadi? Bukan altar apa ya? Tempat ruang penelitian lah. Aku baca-baca lagi gitu. Dan aku dapat beberapa informasi, cuman aku nggak tahu bener apa enggak nih, tolong dikoreksi aja. Yang pertama itu soal Renegis ya. Jadi Renegis itu bisa dibilang tempat dan alat untuk penyaluran astral energi dari Dana menuju Rena ya. Jadi si Renna ini mau curi astral energinya di Dana lah. Nah itu lewat Renegis ya. Jadi harus perlu Renegis gitulah. Jadi kalau kalian lihat tuh Renegis tuh kayak bulannya Renna lah. Renna itu Renna itu tempat yang besar banget. Sedangkan Renegis itu cuman ya kayak bulan tapi lebih kecil gitu lah. Nah untuk mengontrol Renegis itu perlu Sovereign, Maiden, dan Rena Salma ya. Dan perlu diadakan upacara. Itu upacara apa itu aku lupa namanya. Sebentar. Nah pas upacara dimulai itu si Renegisnya ini ngebentuk apa namanya tuh yang kita lihat di dua live streaming sebelumnya ya. Dua atau tiga live streaming sebelumnya itu dia ngebentuk mode aktifnya itu, dan dia nurunin apa gitu ke bawah, dan dia ambil semua tuh energinya menuju ke Rena, dan itu kan perlu Renegis dulu kan, lewat Renegis dulu. Nah pada saat itu upacara itu lagi dimulai tuh, kalau pas lagi gitu susah juga jelasinnya ya. Gua harus bikin script dulu tadi harusnya tuh, bingung jelasinnya. Nah seperti yang kita tahu lah, pas awal-awal terjadi awal-awal upacara tuh yang pertama kali diadain kan Alpen dan Naori ya. Nah pas diadakan upacara itu Naori nggak sengaja malah ngeluarin torrent gitu ya, kekuatan yang dark star energinya itu, dan ngebuat si Alpen tuh kayak tersiksa gitu lah. Dan karena Renegis di kontrolnya sama Sovereign, dan ya otomatis pas si Sovereign-nya ini kayak lepas kendali, Renegis juga ikut lepas kendali dong. Kayak kemungkinan gitu ya, makanya pas diingatan Alpen tuh Alpen kayak ngancurin Renegis gitu loh, karena dia lepas kendali. Nah ya mau nggak mau Naori masangin topeng gitulah buat nenangin, tapi seperti yang kita tahu ada efek sampingnya, yaitu lupa ingatan dan nggak bisa ngerasain sakit. Dan si Alpen pun dibalikan lagi ke Danan ya, ke Dana. Dan dan kekuatan torchnya ini mau nggak mau, karena karena katanya butuh Sovereigns dan Rena Salma untuk ngelepasin Thorns-nya ini. Si Naori ya mau nggak mau ngekip atau apa namanya, ngorbanin diri dan ancestornya, penerusnya itu untuk menjaga Thorns-nya inilah biar nggak ngamuk sampai pada saatnya ada Sovereigns baru dan Rena Salma kembali dibuat lagi gitu. Dan ya sekarang kan udah dapet nih, udah ada si Alpen tuh sebagai Sovereigns, dan kita hanya perlu Rena Salma sekarang nih. Rena Salma yang masih kayaknya sih dipegang sama Forlan. Kayaknya Forlan masih hidup deh, karena kan sekarang kan dia si Renegis ini kan ngambil Astral lagi kan, dan kemungkinan itu ada upacara antara si Forlan dan entah kayaknya Maidennya itu si Red Woman ya. Aku nggak tahu sih, kita cari tahu aja dah. Aku banyak teori dan ngarang-ngarang, taunya salah kan gak enak. Coba aja. Kayaknya si Forlan masih hidup sih, aku yakin sih. Sorry kalau penjelasanku aneh kurang jelas gitu menjelasinnya, karena aku nggak bikin skrip dulu, langsung baca, langsung ngoceh aja gitu, bingung ngejelasin dari mana dulu. Ntar kita baca dulu deh.
We're a long way from the residential quarters now. It looks completely different.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, this place.
Iya, ini mirip banget sama The Wedge.
More being back inside the wedge.
Except the Danon astral energy feels even stronger here.
Oh.
In a portion of the city reserved purely for the Renan sovereign.
Maybe he just has strange tastes?
This place looks like it has been here for quite some time now. If its design were a matter of personal preference, we would be talking from centuries ago, or perhaps even further back. Still, this isn't the sort of decadence of taste spoken of in artistic circles. So what is it then?
Enggak tahu.
Hold up, decadence? Artistic circles?
When a preference is indulged to its extreme, it descends into kitsch.
Aku gak ngerti apa yang diomongin sama si
I'd
Doalim.
be happy to illuminate you further.
That depends. Does it involve you buying me lunch?
The void
Semoga
that
ajarin.
occupies the stomach. It's the soul.
In that case, I'll let you know the next time my soul starts to rumble.
Now all we need is something to fill up the void inside your head.
Shut up!
Berat banget omongannya Doalim, susah dimengerti. Ini apa lagi nih? Oh iya, bos pas lawan bos tadi kan ada restore HP dan CP. Tuh kan, Portland kan?
He really was still alive.
And there's the Rena's Alma. Then, is this another spirit channeling ceremony?
Spirit channeling namanya.
Wait though. Something
Apa
doesn't feel
caranya?
right here.
Place. Oh, once more, the powers must be united. Born from the fires of chaos, the world does seek its rightful state. All must be sacrificed in the heart of Renna, at the shrine of the true
Ini
soul.
lagi ngucapin apa nih?
What has happened to him? He's lost himself.
Oh, dikendalin juga kah sama Red Woman itu?
Hey look! Over there!
Isn't that the maiden's crest?
Iya, Maiden Crest.
Can it be that this entire chamber is meant to act as a substitute for the maiden?
Hah?
It looks like it's still running, but are we already too late to stop the ceremony?
If that's what caused Lenegis' transformation.
Aku pikir si
The purpose of the ceremony must have been to drain
iya,
all the astral
aku pikir si
energy
Red Woman yang jadi Maiden, ternyata tempat ini yang malah jadi Maidennya.
What could possibly need astral energy on that sort of scale?
Ya udah, nantiin aja lah.
I don't know. But whatever it is, I'll bet it's connected to those visions.
Kita ambil aja langsung Rena Salmanya.
Regardless, we cannot stand by and let them steal
Iya.
Damon's energy.
Aku juga nggak tahu tuh apa gunanya
That said,
dana istana negeri
we should
bagi
retrieve the
Renna.
Because right now, we need that most of all.
Buru.
He's
not gonna lunge at us out of nowhere, right?
Not the time, Law.
Alvin, look!
The red woman.
Kan.
So we finally found you. I have a lot of questions for you.
Wait!
What?
They all have the same face? How is that even possible?
Kayak bunsin anjay. Kayaknya sih dia perwujudan dari Dark Astral energi sih. Nggak tahu lah, kita cari tahu nanti. Anjay, jadi Power Ranger coy.
What is this?
Who the hell are they?
It can't... Are they even people?
It's hard to know for sure, but I think
Keren bentukannya.
the true rulers of Renna.
Oh, seluruh pengendali Renna. Ya, level 48 doang, aku level 50 bro.
Feeling particularly taut.
Anjing sakit coy.
Use Alvin. If we don't fight, we may as well be sitting ducks here.
Good point.
Mampus lu.
Before this gets out of hand. Itu
skillnya siapa dah? Aku bingung mana skill teman-temanku apa dan mana skill si Red Woman-nya. Itu pasti skill musuh itu yang bulat-bulat. Mampus. Yah, kagak down anjay. Sia-sia dong. Awesome. Wah, ini kalau sampai gagal aku bakal ngulang lagi nih. Tuh nggak mau ini aku sia-sia. Cepekku.
Now I'm real mad. Take this.
Ini. Satu. Awas. Makan dulu. Sakitnya, cok. Satu-satu yang ini dulu, Sion. Oh my god. Ya elah. Berantakan banget ini ya bro-nya. Kombonya. Ya lau. Lo jangan mati lo. Lau. Ya si Lau malah mati. Ya udahlah, bodo amat lah. Sini dong, ngumpul dong, aku jadi nggak bisa gunain busnya. Bisa ngumpul nggak kalian? Anjing. Satu dulu, arahin satu gitu. Bro, yang ini dulu bisa nggak bro? Lau, yang ini dulu lau. Yang ini dulu. Ya elah, dia lagi. Coy. Terus. Mampus nih. Tolong. Terus. Anjing. Kesian masuk dong. Bukannya masuk healing circle. Cah, kejauhan. Goblin gak ada yang kena. Nah. Mampus. Rese banget ya.
Surrender! Fighting is useless now!
Do you think it's really over?
No. Don't think so.
Astral energy. Watch out! They've got something up their sleeve.
Meledak.
What?
It's self-destructed?
Senjatanya sih udah anjir.
I'm okay. Just a little roughed up.
You had me worried there.
Udah ambil terus kabur dah. Nggak usah ngurusin si koran dah. Biar dia terkurung situ.
Who said you could touch
Si
that?
anjing masih hidup, cok. Langsung tusuk buruan.
He's awake!
Buruan anjing.
I should have thought as much. So you know this place? Naturally, it was built for me after all.
Oh,
We'll save that for another time. More pressing is how I'm going to tear you apart.
si anjing banyak gaya udah gue kalahin sekali
All this
kayak.
time, you still insist on hating me? You cut me down. Sovereign or not, you will pay for that.
Langsung ya kayak si ini nggak pikir panjang.
Obviously bluffing.
Tembak buruan.
You can't even move right now.
Aja jelas senjata bikin salpok. Tuh kan, malah nunggu dia berhenti dulu, lepas
Did you
dulu.
really think that such a petty device could hold me?
Are you going to claim it's because you're a ruler? Be it sovereigns or lords. In the end, they're all titles given by someone else.
Plus, what kind of ruler would spend all his time chasing Alf, who happens to be another sovereign?
Idle prattle. I proved my worth and the sovereign's powers were granted to me.
Were they really? We already know the title of sovereign doesn't denote royalty. It is but an overblown codename for those with a designated part to play in these proceedings. You mentioned before that you were not the only one stolen from Dana, correct?
Yeah. There were countless. And every one of them besides me died.
All of those failed experiments, and they still kept going back to Dana. There must have been some vital reason their subject had to specifically be a Danan.
Iya, kenapa harus Dana?
Found in the library for you and Volron. They were logged 300 years apart, and yet the data they took from you was exactly the same, which leads us to a single conclusion.
Then you mean Boran was kidnapped just like Alphen? But then he became a...
Lalu lu harusnya dukung Danan lah, lu diculik dari Danan kok.
Just like us. Isn't that right? Volron.
Malah baru dukung Renan, malah pengen bunuh kita. Maunya apa dari orang?
Caused all that suffering to his own people?
How could you? If you knew the pain of being a slave, why would you inflict that upon others?
Tahu lu,
Renan
pengkhianat lu.
meaningless distinctions. Me and everyone else. That is all that matters.
Kepala batu udah tembak aja sih.
I will stand above all others and take what is rightfully mine, starting with this.
Tuh udah tadi bukan diambil ya. Ini orang belum mati-mati anjing.
Another one?
Give your master back on Renna this message. No one makes a fool of me. Let them know I'll make them suffer.
Iya, lawan aja udah. Renan mah gak usah dibantu coy.
do it.
Elah, dibawa kabur dari tadi, bukan diambil lagian. Lama.
Too late. Can't stay here.
We need to go. Alpha.
Udah tinggalin. Mampus lu. Udah lu mati sini dah. Sorry. Galpop. Nori, Sion. Tolong Alpen. Santai. Tangkap langsung ke strum. No, bisa ketangkep kan? Bantu. Sip. Mampus, tinggalin Foran. Goodbye.
Go. But no, I will be your shadow no matter where you try to run.
Ya, lu nggak usah ganggu, udah mati aja situ dah. Let's go.
Never forget, I am the one who devours.
Are you two okay?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Is Volron... Have we finally seen the last of him?
We can but hope.
Didoain mati anjir.
What the heck was their deal?
Lu bukan ambil dari tadi lah.
All this?
Rena salam
The
aja.
ones who put those soldiers and Faria in a trance?
What? Those brainless things? Either way, they've done a runner with the Renaissance. Damn it, that's the second time now.
Kannya tadi langsung
Whatever's
ambil.
stolen from us, we'll steal it back. The future's ours to protect. And right now, those things are what's standing in our way. We can head them off at Renna.
Did you say Renna?
Buat ketemu ke Rena nih.
Volron mentioned a master of theirs holed up in the motherland somewhere.
If that monstrous form's their true identity, I shudder to think who they take orders from.
Yeah. There's a good chance it's not human. That's for sure.
So this thing over on Renna, that's what's really behind all this, huh?
They have the Renaissance in their grasp already, so it's unlikely they'll have cause to return to Dana. I agree that Renna's our best shot.
Terus coy.
Then we're
Yakin sekarang
back
langsung.
to the starship.
Kita ke Rena sekarang
I
aja.
was not expecting Volron to actually be here.
He seemed to care not one whit about Renans or Danans.
Yeah, not in a good way, like...
Makin jauh kan kalau udah diambil mah. Langsung diambil mah. Udah nggak perlu ke Rena kita. Langsung balik ke Danan, kita mandi. Si muka tidur.
I didn't see that coming about Volron. As for those red women,
Tell me about it. One minute they look perfectly human. Next thing you know, they're not actually human at all.
They definitely weren't Renan or Danan. I'm not even sure language would get through to...
So what were they then?
Nggak
This
tahu.
is the most terrifying thing anyone's...
How about you, Shion? Dohali?
No, never. However, if they're the same as the red woman we've seen with Volron, I think it's safe for us to assume they understand our language at the...
I had just so much I wanted to ask them.
unfortunately, they blew themselves up before we got the chance.
Both sound plausible to my ears.
Yeah, they did. And the next time we meet them, we're going to make sure they...
Yap. Kalau bisa lu ajak ngobrol dah. Kalau nggak bisa mau langsung tebas aja mukanya. Let's go. Balik lagi. Kayaknya aku harus beli mic nih, buru-buru beli mic. Aku nggak tahu settinganku atau mic-nya yang salah. Kadang ini suaraku nggak masuk ke mic loh. Mana sih? Oh, sini nih. Kita restart dulu. Ih, ngapain sih buka-buka ini? Si Alpen nggak ada skill baru aja nih. Itu udah 27.000, 26.000 loh, nggak kepake. Kamu nggak usah ganggu. Anjing, sumpah. Mampus. Proud of way. Anjing, sakit. Scarlet Inferno. Semangat banget Alpen. Kamu bisa aku skip aja nggak? Badan gede doang, XP-nya kecil, mager. Ah elah, mundur-mundur segala. Nah gitu loh. Blow them away. Anjay, mundur-mundur dulu ya. Aku mau nyoba combo baru malah jadi aneh. Aku biasanya combo Severing Wing langsung Void Flash gitu-gitu doang.
Hey, I'm pretty lucky.
Tuh, Rena tuh yang gede tuh. Renegis tuh yang kecil.
What the? When did it get pitch dark all of a sudden?
The lights are all out. Think it has something to do with the explosion back in the Forbidden Zone? Joe?
Udah baik kan kalau?
You two.
Faria, Avakir. Thank goodness you're safe.
Avakir filled me in about everything. About how I ambushed you all.
She doesn't remember a thing. So she really was being controlled.
Ini sih gara-gara Woman nih.
He told me about Tarnigan too. Is it true?
What difference does it make? What's done is done.
Stop casting me off, just for once!
Faria, not now. It can wait. Dohalim, Lenegus is in grave peril.
So I can see.
It's the city's core reactor. It's damaged. Some of the basic systems we've managed to keep online, but complete restoration's still a way off.
You're an elite technician, though. You can fix it, right?
Nggak usah dibenerin lah, udah biarin rusak aja.
If so, then what's the problem?
Panic's begun to set in among the citizens. Until now, whenever something like this happened, the sovereign would issue a decree. But this time, not so much as a peep. Any longer, and we run the risk of
Surprise lu lagi
before we can
dikurung.
get things back up and running.
Forget the sovereign. I doubt you'll be hearing from him anytime soon.
What's that supposed to mean? Do you know something I don't?
Suffice it to say, the sovereign isn't the kind of ruler we thought he was. That is, if he ever even existed, which is looking doubtful at this stage.
Are you out of your mind? Why, if people knew that a lord such as yourself was whispering such blasphemy, they'd...
There's no time to explain now.
Ya udah lalu diem aja lu, Rena.
Lenegus from spiraling out of control.
We need to stop that riot.
Ngapain
But how do we
sih?
do that?
Nggak usah dibenerin dah.
Riots feed on discontent and unrest, right? So if we want to keep the peace, we just need to put people's minds at ease.
Ya.
At ease. Like by letting them hear directly from someone they trust. That's it. Who's the highest ranking person in Lenegus right now?
Kita harus caper ke Rena ya.
Lenegus wouldn't have a next in line. After all, you said the sovereign rules over everyone directly, right?
Langsung aja Alpen.
Correct. The closest thing to an authority figure would be a lord. And the only one left is... Very well then. Avakir, you mentioned a few facilities were still online. Which ones?
Doalim kan yang mimpin sekarang.
Why hasn't the sovereign said anything?
Please, won't somebody explain what's going on?
Nggak ada ya sovereign
What's
tuh.
going to happen to all of us?
Fellow Renans of Lenegus.
Lu pakai kacamata atau gimana, Doalim? Oh. Belum ke render.
Hold on. He should be in the crown contest. Shouldn't he? Why isn't the sovereign talking to us?
Dengerin dulu, sabar.
Proceeding to other matters right now. In my capacity as Lord, I speak to you in his stead. You're afraid, as people so often are when faced with the unknown. I hope you'll allow me to put your fears to rest. The city's core reactor has experienced a malfunction. However, we have our top engineers attending to the matter, and things will soon be back to normal. I know that you feel abandoned, perhaps more scared and alone than ever before. But I ask you all to keep one thing in mind. You are Lenegus, not the lords and sovereign. The solidarity of its citizens is the mortar that holds it together. If we don't allow ourselves to be distracted by our differences, if we put our hearts and minds together and stand as one, I am confident we will find new hope.
Ya, nggak usah bergantung sama sovereign lagi.
With you. Not as a person of loftier rank, but as another human being among many. I hope that you'll lend me your strength, for if we can persevere as one, I know a bright tomorrow awaits.
Sheesh. Ah, tiba-tiba nyala.
Your speech seems to have done the trick. Looks like the city won't be descending into chaos after all.
I only pray the relief will tide the city over for the time being.
What you said earlier, about the sovereign possibly not even existing.
Ya, lu tuh ditipu ya.
It's still too premature to say with any certainty, but I believe so. This whole time, this world we've been fed was a lie, built on nothing but falsehoods.
But it can't all have been.
I can believe it. After everything I saw in the Forbidden Zone, what they did to Faria, it's the only explanation.
But what about hierarchy, Avakir? Authority? The very foundations of Renan society?
Nggak ada.
How can we live without someone to guide us?
I'd say we found someone capable of doing just that, wouldn't you?
Doalim mampus tuh.
You can't be serious.
I have business I must take care of first. But once everything is over, I shall return. But not as your sovereign, nor as a leader, the likes of which the people here.
But how else do you propose to rule?
I'm not sure yet. All I have is a feeling that here in Lenegis, a new dawn is on the verge of breaking. One in which people won't be judged by birthright or on the power of their astral arts, but on other things. More important things like... oh, I don't...
When I bumped into you after all those years, I said you were no different. But I was wrong. Truth is, you were always different. I feel like maybe now I can finally begin to accept turn against death. To see a future.
Dari kemarin harusnya.
You go finish whatever it is you've got to do. I'll hold down the fort here in Lenegis till you get back.
Thank you.
I guess you're not going to make it to Menancia for the foreseeable future, huh?
Iya, dia nggak bakal balik ke Menancia. Ntar Menancia lu yang ngatur ya, Kisara.
The people of Elda Menancia can look after themselves just fine. It's the ones here on Lenegis who need someone. Besides, with you leading the people here, it'll help spread the idea of coexistence beyond Menancia's borders that much faster.
Sounds like you're in it for the long haul.
How could I not be, after the second chance that I've been granted? From this day forth, I shall dedicate myself to the future inhabitants of this world. Though the memories of the departed shall remain forever in my heart.
Remember, you're going to be leading the people here, not ruling them.
Ya, ntar aku kasih tahu ya, jangan jahat-jahat lagi ke Danan.
With or without her, I suspect you're gonna have your hands full when the time comes. We should be heading back to the ship. Business.
Ya. Yeay, udah halim kah? Nice. Akhirnya kepake. Siapa lagi, ayo? Ya, satu doang.
I couldn't have done it without your words of encouragement, Law.
Hey, you're the one who made the speech.
I think everybody can share the credit here.
Hey, kemana kita?
In one sense, when all is said and done,
you, a Renan lord.
I was complicit in the Renan system, bound by its values. Resigned, and when I realized the severity of my mistake, all I lost, a lord. And yet my first instinct was to place my fate in the
I think I can relate. I couldn't stand watching my people bow and scrape their way through life, but I didn't know what else I could do about it either. The ability to think for yourself and be your own master. That's what separates a slave from a free person. At least, that's what Zephyr taught me how to fight. But in doing so, he also taught me how to live.
Even if it means stumbling along the way. If it's on a road of our own choosing, free of regret. Why? Or, to put it another way, so long as his heart is compromised, even the loftiest of kings is no freer than a slave. I think this Zephyr character sounds like he was a wise man indeed.
Ya, tapi lo gak pernah ketemu kan?
I only wish I could have met him.
Sayang sekali.
There's just so much I wish I could ask him, especially now. I wonder, have I been...
How long have you known?
Known what?
About the darkness I carry inside me. You seem to have been aware of it for quite some time now.
Why ask me now? What does it matter? But yes, I have. I've pretty much known that something was gnawing at you ever since we left Menancia.
So basically since the very start of our journey then. Just when I thought I couldn't feel more ashamed.
Leave the past where it belongs. We have no need for it now.
Yeah,
you're
udahlah.
forging ahead. That's what matters. If my brother could see you, he'd be proud.
Not as proud as he would be of his sister, I'm sure.
Well then, just as well it's not a competition, huh?
Masih banyak. Cakep banget Kisara.
Anyone at home in there?
Sorry. Did I look distracted?
Among other things. To be entirely honest, I couldn't tell whether you were smiling or frowning.
You were thinking about Dohalim.
Gak usah belak-belakan gitu, Renna.
That obvious, huh? I was just thinking how good it is to see him moving forward at last.
Okay.
It was always so infuriating, knowing how capable he could be if he just put his mind to it. A prisoner trapped in a cage of his own self-doubt. But now, he's finally beginning to spread his wings. I'm happy for him.
Well,
So, then why do you look so sad?
ya nggak bakal bisa ketemu
I don't know
lagi
if
ya.
I'd say sad. There's a bittersweetness to it, I guess.
Kalau udah kelar.
It's good and strange. No, it probably sounds weird, doesn't it? I have this massive worry off my mind.
Must be that maternal instinct of yours at work.
Rinwell's right. You're like a mother bird, finally letting go as her child takes his first shaking and nervous flight from the nest.
Udah kayak emaknya 2 hari.
Pretty big child.
Enggak sih? Emak dari kita semua, si Kisaran.
That's one way to look
Aura keibuannya kerasa banget
I'd
soalnya.
like to see Dohalim's face if he heard you say that. All this has made me realize I can't allow myself to become a prisoner of my own making like he was. If Dohalim can forge his own path ahead, then I can too. I won't be left behind.
Yep. Masuk lagi kocak. Gak ada item, gak ada oke. Ini bukannya kemarin kebakaran ya? Udah pada berhenti ding. Apinya udah pada mati. Ih, jauhnya anjir. Resident zone. Zone. Kiri nggak ada apa-apa, kanan. Apa niche? Orange gel. CP ku masih penuh. Lah kenang-kenangan di Renegis. Tak simpen satu yang nggak bisa kita bawa. Keren sih tapi ini Renegis gila. Kayak tempat apa ya? Pernah lihat gitu. Mirip-mirip. Tuh keren banget gila. Oh masih kebakaran. Itu siram dong, hey. Let's go, kita balik. Harus ngerenan dulu tapi Renna ya, bukan kerenan, sorry. Renan tuh orang-orang Renna.
I thought we'd find answers on Lenegis, but we just ended up finding more questions.
You can say that again. And now we have more problems to fix too. Like figuring out how to reform Lenegis.
Dan ntar biar Dohalim yang mikir itu mah.
That can wait for now. We've got more than enough on our plates to deal with as it is. Like figuring out who's really running the show on Renna.
Ya, siapa tuh kira-kira?
Yeah. Which is why we're going to the Renan homeworld.
All the answers we've been looking for are on that planet. The person responsible for all this. The Red Woman and the Renasalma. The answers have to be there. Are we prepared to finally find them?
Okay, let's go.
So, what do we do first when we get there?
We know nothing about the Renan homeworld or what we might face once we arrive. We should get a feel for how things are on the ground before we take any serious steps.
It's also entirely possible that the first thing we're going to face is an attack.
We
Pasti.
come across a capital, we should...
Kenapa, Cok?
What?
Elah nih orang. Tadi bukannya udah gue bunuh deh. Dijegat coy. Nah kita udah keluar dari Renegis atau gimana? Woi. Ah, dibawa kemana kita? Diteleport kemana nih?
Damn! The hell just happened?
Our course has been altered. The coordinates are pointing to a different destination.
Nah,
What's that?
The ship's controls aren't accepting my commands. The engine is being shut down.
That's bad, right?
Quite bad. We've lost control of the ship.
hey.
Is all of this the Red Women's...
Are they trying to finish us off before we can land?
Si Doang mencat-mencat apa tuh?
Look there!
Apaan? Oh, maga. Apa ini, Cok? What? Rena tuh nggak bulat ya? What? Darkasa energi ditaruh lagi ke dana. Dibalikin lagi. Hanya jadi bolak-balik ribet amat ya. What? Anjir kayak bunga ya. Keren juga nih. Oh my god. Itu orang-orang di Renna gimana hidupnya itu? Bentukannya aneh banget dunianya.
A flower blooming out of Renna?
But that flower looks like it's absorbing all of Dana's energy.
Ya anjing. Diambil semua.
Renegis is serving as a conduit for that energy to reach here. Could that have been its true purpose all along?
If that's true, do you think the people back on Lenegis are all right?
Semoga.
We can only pray that they are.
Ya kecuali si ini ya.
Damn it.
Si Forlan mah nggak baik-baik aja semoga.
When is this going to end?
The flower of oblivion.
With everything that's happening, we need to get back to Lenegis. Is the ship still offline?
Unfortunately, yes. Even more so than when it lay dormant.
Jujur kita dibawa kemana ini? Jauh banget dari Renegis.
Starships are extremely complex machines. One wrong move while we're out here in space.
So what? We're just stuck inside here, floating around? For how long?
Ini bisa lakuin sesuatu apa?
Believe this. We've made it all this. We're watching Dana die before our eyes.
Aduh, sedot semua.
Law, calm down. You're not the only one who's worried here.
Right.
It's still too early to give up.
Alphen.
Kenapa lagi nih?
Now what?
The starship, it's back online?
No, this is different. Something is pulling our ship in
Hah?
towards it.
Ditarik siapa benar? The black hole kah? Black hole. UFO ini apa lagi, cowok? Tempat apa lagi nih?
We managed to get moving, but where are we?
Nggak tahu.
It looks like Lenegus in here.
Ini sama kayak Negi
Do
sih
you think we
bentukannya.
might run into more Renans here? Or those red women?
Perhaps. Someone.
We haven't been ambushed, so that probably means they aren't hostile. Still,
Hey, Shion!
If they wanted to attack us, they could have done so while we were back on the starship. We should see where this path takes us.
Buru-buruan, keburu dana hancur, coy. Dana, sorry.
I still can't get over what we saw happening outside.
Lu banyak ngobrol, karena kan lagi disedot. Buruan
It's
lah.
really not doing too hot right about now.
I've only ever seen Rena from the surface of Dana, so I figured it was just another round planet like ours.
Oh,
Still though, I never would have imagined Rena actually looked like that.
Iya, gue juga baru tahu.
What's the deal with that giant?
Beats me. I have absolutely no clue.
Lalu orang Rena juga nggak tahu ya.
Surreal. It looks like a broken egg or
Renna and Dana. We were taught that both worlds were spherical bodies that floated amongst the stars in the heaven. But to think that they lied to us not only about the sovereign and the crown contest, but also the form of our own planet.
Dohalim.
Wah, tahu nih pasti penipu berat ini.
Okay, who's the wise guy that
Pemimpin
summoned
si
us
Renna.
What the?
Sempet-sempetnya Rinwell.
This isn't the time for games, Rinwell.
Oh, come on. How am I supposed to resist with you looking all jittery like that?
It's called experiencing feelings appropriate to the situation.
Yeah, but seeing you act all nervous, you're making me start to feel nervous too.
Iya,
Oh, sorry.
nggak biasa aja kalau gitu.
Staying alert is important, but too much caution can cloud your judgment. Try to...
Ya, lanjut.
That beam of light joining Dana and Renna. It was the Renan side that at first.
That's what it looked like. And then the Danon side respond.
Perhaps it was some kind of directive from the Renan homeworld? To reawaken the wedge in Lenegus?
Which would mean that whoever's behind all this is on Renna after all. But what are they after?
Iya,
Is it really
ketujuannya.
worth going through all this trouble just to steal Dan?
Try to stay calm. With so many factors we don't understand, dwelling... What is it?
No, it's just so much for me making progress.
You made it this far, didn't you? You notice something, you change it. That's all anyone can do. But you can't stand still in the
Cepat. Nggak ada chest. Oke, lanjut. Kemana dulu ini? Central, oke. Kita ke tengah. Coba kita ke upper deh, bisa nggak? Nggak bisa, oke. Berarti emang harus kesini ya. Harus kesini. Alamak, ngelek-ngelek lagi, Mak. Oh, udah nggak aman.
This place looks a lot like that room we saw back in the Forbidden Zone.
Huh? What's that? It's one of those!
A red woman in disguise. Or is this their true form?
So it was a
Apa?
trap?
It doesn't look like it can move.
Ih, warna hitam. Beda dari yang tadi ya.
Tell me, are you the one who brought us here?
Siapa nih?
That is correct.
It is unusual for me to have unexpected guests these days.
Lu siapa, Cok?
Talk. What are you?
Hevrect 35.
Nampun ribet ya.
Hevrect 35.
Correct.
What is this place? No, wait, before that, just what exactly...
Before I answer, I have a question for you. How did you all arrive in this sector?
Bukan lu yang narik.
We did not come to this place by choice. Our ship was brought here against our will, by a group of red women who can shift into the same...
In that case, we can assume my brethren who serve the Great Spirit have deemed you all to be a threat most grave.
What do you mean, serve? Are you saying there really is someone more powerful than the red women, pulling their strings?
Kenapa lagi?
I examined your bodies. You have not been harmed in any way. Identifiers detected. The Sovereign and Maiden are among you. However, you aren't under its control. I see why they viewed you as a danger now.
Oh, goody. More riddles.
Do you think we can trust this thing?
Anjir, tiba-tiba muncul karakter baru.
Let's at least hear it out.
I shall now answer your questions. We are Helganquil. The red women you encountered previously are a form of disguise we employ from time to time, but not our true form.
Helganquil?
Helganquil?
You are on Dake Phasol, a celestial base which drifted here by accident. The will of Rena's great spirit no longer reaches us here. Since my sudden separation from the great spirit's influence, I have used any and all means to extend my lifespan. As I have done so, I have also set out to monitor and research Renna and Dana from this position.
A question. What is this great spirit of which you speak? Is it something that rules over your kind?
Correct. The great astral spirit is a large mass of astral energy that fills all of Renna, one with its own will, a voice we cannot refuse.
A voice? Just like Dana.
The voice of the great spirit speaks to our hearts directly, and we have served it without question throughout the ages.
Does that mean it was controlling your minds? Wait a second. Could this great spirit be the true sovereign of Renna?
The true ruler of Renna. It could be the same thing that's controlling Volron.
Wait, back up. You're telling us this great spirit of yours is the one that ordered you things to harvest the astral energy from Dana? I'm not sure I believe that.
Why not? We've already made contact with the will of Dana back in the Wedge, and in the Forbidden Zone on Lenegus. If Dana has a will of its own, I don't see why Renna wouldn't.
Maybe not, but think about what you're saying. If Dana has a will like Renna, then that would mean that we've been controlled by the voice of Dana this whole time, just like these things.
Dana's will hasn't been forcing us to do anything.
Yeah, but...
Tetap aja
Let's
kita
assume that
ikutin
what Hevrect 35 claims is true, and that we are indeed cut off from both planets. Even if we had previously been under the control of Dana's will, we would have noticed now that we are disconnected.
Your fear is not based in logic. The voice of Dana is much smaller and quieter compared to that of Renna's great spirit.
Great spirit.
Renna's astral energy is amassed at its center, whereas Dana's is shared among all its constituents. So thinly is that energy spread that it cannot coalesce and formulate a will. Our findings here indicate as much.
Which explains why we felt its will where we did. The Wedge and Lenegus are where so much of that energy had been accumulated.
The Great Spirit's desire is to consume all astral energy, and the pursuit of that desire is why you see Renna in its current state. As a result, it has turned its attention toward Dana.
Is that why the crown contest is necessary? So that the Great Spirit can feed off of Dana?
Indeed. And it was to that end that we Helganquil devised the crown contest. Had the initial spirit channeling from 300 years ago succeeded, all of Dana's astral energy would have been seized.
Untung gagal ya.
But the ceremony failed.
Iya, untung gagal.
Was severely damaged, and you lost both the Sovereign and the RENAS Alma.
Correct. A change in plan was required to ensure the spirit channeling's success. However, recreating the RENAS Alma required a vast amount of energy. That is why we turned to Dana.
So that was the real purpose behind the crown contest. An efficient means to harvest the necessary energy from Dana.
This is all happening because of me.
Ya, tapi kalau lu berhasil pun ya tetap hancur.
Original questions. Just why have you brought us here to your base, Hevrecht 35?
First, it was to confirm the identities of you, my unexpected visitors. Second, it was to ascertain whether you would be likely to accept my request.
A request? But what could someone like you want us to...
I wish for you all to slay the Great Spirit.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you just ask us to kill your master?
I did. It is in your best interest that you do so.
Iya, disuruh nggak disuruh, gue bakal ini sih. Biar gantiin Renna.
Of the spirit channeling plan. As we speak, Dana's energy is being harvested en masse and transmitted to Renna. If nothing is done about the Great Spirit, it will not be long before all is lost.
You're saying the destruction we saw earlier is just the beginning? That...
We won't let that happen.
Why do you want us to kill the Great Spirit so badly? Is it to save our world? To free you, Helganquil, from under its control? Why?
No. My primary concern is validating our findings and analysis, which have taken many years to realize. As such, it is my desire to see how your actions impact and change these systems. However, I will not deny that vengeance also plays a part.
Ujung-ujungnya balas dendam.
For what?
Iya, dia diatur terus sama Great Spirit.
Our species is on the brink of extinction.
You mean you're dying?
Sama kayak Dana dijadiin budak ya.
It would be wise for you to talk with the others. Ask them what you need to know. Once you have your answer, return to me.
Others? Just how many of you are there?
I am the only Helganquil who inhabits Dake Faisal.
Hey! Hey!
Ya udah langsung kasih jawaban, gue bakal ngalahin spirit gitu.
I think it's done talking to us. Let's take a
Hey bro. Makin banyak pertanyaan, makin banyak.
You can't seriously be buying anything that creature told us, right? I mean, it's practically blackmailing us into doing its...
To be honest, the conversation went on for so long, I'm not sure I understood all of it. How about you, Dohalim? Were you able to follow?
At the very least, everything it said about the Renan Great Spirit adds up. At the end of the day, this whole chain of events comes back to astral energy.
Iya, lagi-lagi astral energy.
That being said, had we not previously encountered the will of Dana, I suspect I would find its story much more difficult to believe.
The spirit of Renna wants to see Dana completely destroyed.
But why? Astral energy is supposed to be a force that creates and shapes the world.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if we're up against an entire world or what its game is. We're not going to let it destroy.
Right.
There is one other thing that can... How the Great Spirit, the Helganquil, and the Crown Contest are all part of a centuries-long plan is clear enough. But what about the Renans? How do they factor into all this?
Iya, lu kan Renan, lu kenapa nanya ke gua?
Now that you mention it, and all that talk, Hevrecht 35 never even brought up the Renans once. And as for the Helganquil, we never did find out just what they are either.
Maybe it had a reason for keeping its silence. Or perhaps there's even more going on. Maybe the others will shed more light on the matter. Let's find out.
Yuk. Kemana kita? Bisa ke upper level? Ada apa di sini? Tidak ada apa-apa. Ya nggak ada apa-apa kan, serius. Serius nggak ada apa-apa. Jauh-jauh. Keluar. Aku harus baca lah. Ada orang.
Who are they?
Ini siapa kocak?
Oh, my apologies. It's just been
Mukanya sama semua ya.
humans from the outside world.
Are you a Renan?
Oh. The Overseer told us to answer any questions you might have. Whatever you want to know, we'll tell you as... But be quick. Our subjects are undergoing a dramatic shift that we don't want to miss.
What a weird guy.
He must have meant Hevrect 35 when he mentioned that Overseer.
And what was that about subjects? You don't think he meant Dana and Renna, do you?
There isn't anyone else we can talk to out here.
Ini siapa lagi, Cok?
Have you guys lived up here in Dag Faisal with Hevrect 35 for a long...
Yes. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head just how long it's been, though. We regularly go into stasis, so our sense of time has gotten rather out of whack over...
Why are you all even here in the first place?
Originally, this station was where we worked to perform maintenance on Lenegis from the outside.
Okay.
We heard that the facility ended up in its current location due to an accident.
Oh, it was terrible. Apparently there was some kind of accident, and when help never arrived, they presumed the entire facility had been destroyed.
And you've been working for Hevrect 35 ever since?
Well, at first we thought that there was nobody else inside the facility, but then it turned out the Overseer was there all along.
What do you mean?
The Helganquil have the technology to cloak themselves around us Renans. As long as they don't do anything obvious, a Renan won't see one, even if it's right in front of them.
Which would explain why Shion and I failed to notice the Red Women previously. Do they employ an astral art of some sort?
I haven't been able to scientifically confirm it for myself, but from what I understand, the type of cloaking they use is primarily achieved through mechanical means. In addition, they also used hypnosis devices and information control to get us to do what they wanted without being detected. It's a pretty sophisticated operation, especially since it avoids any unnecessary conflict. I have to imagine that's how Lenegis is still run.
But aren't the Helganquil themselves controlled by the Great Spirit? If so, why aren't Renans affected by it in the same way?
The Great Spirit's mind control only works on Helganquil, so they had to employ other means to manipulate us Renans.
You act like this didn't affect you personally. If I was you, I'd be mad as hell at their deceptions.
I mean, sure, I was surprised when I first found out about it, but it happened so long.
Hevrect 35 has clearly ceased concealing itself, though. Why is that?
Who can say? My guess is it just got bored, or maybe even a little lonely.
Don't you want to go back home to Renna or Lenegis? Our ship is going to be fixed pretty soon.
Iya, daripada lu kerja mulu ya, balik sana
If we went back after knowing the truth, they'd either just brainwash us or purge us outright. After all this time, there's nothing to be gained from going back. We've all agreed it'd be best to simply stay here and watch everything unfold. Things are going just fine with the Overseer. Not that it'll be around much longer. It can't extend its life any further. That said, I'm sure it's pleased to see the final stage of the plan before it passes on, though.
Thank you for answering our...
Okay. Renan.
Can we talk to you for a few minutes?
Sure. It's going to be a while before the two planets undergo their next shift, so I can talk until then.
Please, tell us what you know about the Helganquill.
You mean the Overseer species? I can't say I know much about them.
Well, for starters, where'd they come from?
Where else? From Renna, obviously.
From Renna? Wait, are you telling us those things live right alongside the Renans down there?
Ngeri amat isi
Of course not. There's really no such thing as Renans in the first place.
Oh.
Excuse me?
Oh, I thought the Overseer explained everything.
Apparently not.
Please, tell us more.
Well, in a nutshell, the Renans were originally created from Danans by the Helganquill.
Huh?
But if that's true, then that would mean there aren't any people on Renna.
There aren't, but there are Helganquill. That's what the name literally means in their language, people of Renna.
But what
Okay.
need could they possibly have to create a whole new race of people?
It was a way to bolster their dwindling workforce. I trust you're aware that the Helganquill are on the verge of extinction, yes? In essence, we were created to carry on their work for the Great Spirit after they all die. They
Okay.
gathered Danans who had an affinity for astral arts and proceeded from there. That's why we, as their descendants, can all cast arts, albeit to varying degrees.
Let me get this straight. Are you saying Renans were originally created from Danans that the Helganquill kidnapped?
Wait,
Anjir
that
lah.
explains why almost nobody can use Astro Arts on Dana now.
Helganquill technology is truly amazing. The way they alter their bodies is far less invasive than your conventional surgeries. They have these tiny machines.
Mukanya gak usah di zoom
which
gitu
they
juga dong.
insert into their bodies and
Enough. You needn't tell us anymore.
Dengan santainya ya. Iya, dengan santai ngomong begitu anjir.
I guess I can see how, when viewed in a certain light, their ways may sound grotesque. But if you ask me, I think they ultimately did us a favor. They saved us from crawling the earth in ignorance. If it meant their hands had to get a little dirty in the process, then so be it. Anyway, the Helganquill are the real Renans. Personally, I don't think it's such a big deal. They're also mostly the ones behind what you see going on between the two planets. I think that covers just about everything worth knowing.
I see. Thanks for filling.
Does he really expect us to believe that Renans never truly existed? How absurd.
Dohalim.
Just when I think we're getting to the bottom of it all, some new revelation smacks us in the face.
Yeah. What?
And let's hope this is our last revelation.
What
for
a
a while.
twist. Tiba-tiba pengungkapan yang wadididaw. Hey bro.
Do you know anything about a spirit channeling?
If you mean the first plan from 300 years ago, then yes. Do you know what its main objective was?
Yes. It was to use Lenegis to siphon off Dana's astral energy and send it to Renna.
Yeah.
Exactly. However, there were two problems we had to consider. First was how to collect and send such a large quantity of astral energy without it becoming sentient. Second, we had to figure out how to convert Dana's energy so it would be compatible with Renna.
I take it the solutions to those problems were to use the wedge for the collection, and then the Sovereign and Maiden to convert the energy.
Okay.
We have a winner. However, the first plan failed when the Sovereign was overwhelmed and became frenzied. The reason for that is because the Maiden lost control.
Yeah.
I'm told he slaughtered many Renans in Helganquill that day.
Si Naori nggak
We
bisa.
tried to recreate the Renasalma, but we didn't have nearly enough of the other non-dark astral energy types.
Oke, bentar.
To amend that, we set our sights on Dana and implemented a system whereby we could extract energy from it.
And the crown contest began.
Correct. Since the maiden had been the failing point in the previous plan, it was decided to replace her role with machinery to avoid further
What? Okay.
A new sovereign had to be made as well. It was such tremendously difficult work, its success was dubious. But from the look of things, it would appear such worries were unfounded.
So that's what the purpose of that room we found in the Forbidden Zone was.
What about the flower that sprouted from Renna?
Flower? Oh, that thing. That's the physical manifestation of all the astral energy that, as I'm sure you've noticed, it's quite a lot of energy. At this point, it's likely that it's become physically integrated with Rena's planetary structure.
Hevrect 35 mentioned that the spirit channeling plan is entering its final stage.
It is. I never thought I would live to see the day with my own eyes. Are we done talking now? If it's all the same to you, I'd really rather not.
He talks like the potential end of the world is just another day on the job.
You've got to remember that these guys have been living alone up here for a long time. Who knows what shape their minds are in?
Ya, orang-orang di sini kalem banget ya ngeliat kehancuran, ngeliat apa gitu.
Is there anything we know that's still true at this point?
Seriously, I'm still trying to process the fact that we Renans were created by the Helganquil, let alone the Sovereign and Maiden stuff.
Let's take a moment to gather up. I know all of this is a lot to believe and take in, but I think it's fair to say that we've found the answers we've been looking for.
Agreed. Though I'll admit that I never expected it to all boil down to Rena's great spirit being behind everything.
Everything that's happened, everything we've endured, it's all because of astral energy.
Iya, astral energi
And
nih
to get
gara-gara.
that energy, the Great Spirit took control of the Helganquil. Then the Helganquil created the Renans, who went on to invade and rule over the...
Plus, the reason the Great Spirit can't directly control the Renans as well is likely because they were originally Danans all along.
Either way, I think it's fair to say we've all had a lot to take in at once. Maybe too much even. We should probably take it easy and rest our minds a bit. Why don't we all
istirahat
take
dulu
some
dah.
time to think things over before we decide on our...
That's a good idea. If the Renan Great Spirit really is behind all this, then we've got a really big fight ahead of us. Because it's not just Dana on the line, but Renna too. If we're going to do this, we need to be completely sure of ourselves. So let's go ahead and break off for now. We aren't in any immediate danger, so we should be okay. You sure you don't want to be alone right now?
I could ask you the same question.
I figured I'd get all my thinking in while walking around and checking up on everybody.
I'll go along with you. I'm interested to hear what's on everyone's minds too.
Sounds good. Let's go find
Sion, manis banget sih kamu.
Everyone's just gone their own way, huh?
Yeah, let's hit up each spot.
Jauh-jauh amat ya. Oke, tadi yang kita tangkap dari obrolan bersama 3 orang tadi. Yang pertama apa tadi? Renan ini sebenarnya Dahnan juga, cuman dia diculik sama Helganquil. Dijadikan res baru, apa tuh res tuh bahasa Indonesianya? Ras lah ya, ras baru namanya Renan. Jadi ya basically Renan nih Dahnan juga. Cuman dibuat sedemikian rupa jadi ras baru gitu. Kedua apalagi tadi? The Maiden. Kan Maidennya kan si Nauri itu awal-awal terus gagal kan. Gara-gara dia nggak bisa ngontrol kekuatannya Sovereign. Jadi kan tugasnya Maiden itu untuk mengkontrol menstabilkan, kalau nggak salah menstabilkan kekuatannya Sovereign. Cuman dia gagal, malah ngelepasin Thorns gitu yang ngebuat si Sovereign, si Alpen ini menderita gitu loh. Dan karena gagal, pantesan nggak ada kontes buat nyari Maiden lagi ya. Ternyata ya Maidennya digantiin sama machinery itu mesin lah ya ibaratnya, biar nggak ada, bukan orang lagi gitu. Jadi ya itu ya gitulah, makanya nggak ada crown contest buat nyari Maiden, yang dicari cuma Sovereign-nya doang. Oke. Ya kurang lebih seperti itu, tolong dikoreksi kalau salah.
Everything we thought we knew, it was all just a fabrication that the Red Women, that the Helganquil made up.
Right. Assuming we can believe anything that Hevric 35 has told us, that is.
Well, if the names are anything to go by, it's possible the Helganquil could be behind the fruits of Helgen too.
But if Hevric 35 was
Fruit of Helgen ya? Oh,
and this was all
pantesan.
just one massive
Memang
lie,
harga Helgen
does
juga.
that mean everything we've done up until now has been pointless?
No, I don't think so. Or at least I hope not. I think it just means we've lost our foothold for now. That's all.
Really? Well then, if we've lost it, I guess we'll just have to find another. All of us together. And if we can't find one, then we'll make a new one. End of story.
Okay.
Make one, huh? I see. Right then. Count me in.
Aduh. Ya, ribet nih, banyak kabel. Pinggiran bangku. Pegel juga aja, nggak bisa nyender aku.
Does he seem like he's doing any better now?
He who?
Dalim.
I know that we're all struggling to wrap our minds around it all, but he looked like he was taking it really hard earlier.
What do you think about everything we've learned?
Lalu dong, Kisara yang menghibur.
At some level, I'm not even really sure what to think, to be honest. I mean, the Great Spirit is like a huge natural disaster, but with a mind and will of its own. But if that thing is bent on trying to destroy our planet, then the only thing left for us to do is stop it.
Of course.
As for the Renans, I suppose my feelings on that are a bit more mixed.
How so?
Coexistence between Danans and Renans in Menancia is still a work in progress. In my case, I think that's partly because deep down, I was still on guard around Renans. So, to be told that they're like us, that they're actually just like us.
Ya basically kan sama aja.
Well,
sama-sama
I
Danan.
guess it's a little deflating, to be
Awalnya.
You kept a pretty level head.
You mean about the Renans? At the end of the day, the Helganquil and the Great Spirit are the ones who are responsible. But at the same time, I realize that not every Danan is necessarily going to believe that either.
I know you're already aware of this, but the list of grievances the Danans have against the Renans is long, and understandably so. And if people then find out that they're all actually one and the same, yeah, I don't think they're going to take to it too kindly.
Even just among the Danans, I'm sure there'll be some who emerge with power and some who won't. I think if we can find a way to get rid of that imbalance, then we'll be in a truly good place.
Well, first we can try to figure out what to do about the existing conflicts we have.
Yeah. It'd be nice if one day people could learn to get past their hatred like Rinwell did.
It's no small task. We can't pretend like the past didn't happen and ask people to forget their very real pain and suffering.
Right. Everybody has their reasons for feeling the way that they do. But if we just keep yelling at each other about it, we'll never move on.
Yep.
In a worst-case scenario, it might lead to even more people getting killed.
Jangan sampai itu terjadi ya.
Meet halfway. Not just that, but to also embrace each other's pain in a sense.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
It's true. Everybody has their own scars, their own trauma. The first step to healing those wounds is to put aside that hatred. It won't be achieved through reasoning, but I think it's a good first step, if nothing else. And now, I think I see a way to move forward. But to do that, first we need to make sure our planet isn't going to get wiped out.
Aduh, ngantuk coy. Udah malam. Ntar habis ini kita lanjut besok deh.
You both seem awfully calm.
Only because after everything we've seen, we don't have the energy to keep being shocked.
How are you holding up, Rinwell? That whole talk about the Renans looked like it shook you up a bit.
Yeah. I get this sinking feeling whenever I remember how Danan mages like my family were persecuted and died out. And now, I finally know why that is. But I was thinking, if Renans end up living together with Danans again, then mages won't be such an unusual thing to see on Dana anymore, right? I know it's not as simple as all that, but Danans probably won't be so quick to let their guards down. And there might be Renans who still act superior because of their arts.
It wouldn't surprise me. 300 years of bad blood and prejudice isn't going to be an easy thing to overcome.
Yeah, I know firsthand just how much hatred can take hold in your heart once you let it in. But even so, I was still able to change. And if I can change, so can anyone else.
Iya,
So I
semoga.
was thinking maybe, I don't know, I could use my position as both a Danan and a mage to help bring both sides together.
Sih.
Well, that great spirit worries me too, though. Dana's will feels so warm and inviting. So why is Rena's will trying to destroy our entire
Nggak tahu.
planet?
Padahal dia ini ya, planet kembar. Dana dan Rena tuh. Dana dan Rena, sorry.
Maybe they don't know either.
Maybe. But regardless, at the end of the day, Dana's still our home. There's no way we can let it be destroyed.
Yep.
We won't.
Kita ke Dolim terakhir aja. Kita ke Lau dulu, mana Lau? Enggak pulau, kamu di mana? Lau.
I still can't believe...
You're not the only one still trying to make...
Really? You've never struck me as the type of guy to get hung up on these...
Did you forget what happened back in Thistleum? Once my memory started coming back to me, I felt completely and totally lost.
Langsung jadi sad boy.
It was really that bad for you?
Yeah, it was. But thanks to Law and everybody else, I remembered that I still had things out there worth fighting for.
Ya, untuk menyelamatkan Sion.
Man, I think you might be a better guy than me, Alphen. All I can remember thinking was, when's this guy gonna get his act together?
Law.
I was too worried about repeating the same mistakes I'd made back with my dad. And running away from that was no way to live. And I've tried to stay strong. But all this talk about other races and the world ending, if I can be honest with you guys, it's just all too much for me to handle right now.
Sama
I
sebenarnya.
know this is going to sound strange coming from me, but maybe the key is not to worry too much about the big stuff right now.
Oh?
I used to worry all the time about my thorns, for obvious reasons, but I never really opened up to anyone about them. And when I realized my visions pointed to a threat that was bigger than me, I didn't know what I should do or who to tell. But that's when I finally got it. You guys were all there for me, to teach me what's really important. I just had to open up and listen.
In other words, if you let the big picture stuff get you all muddled up inside, you'll begin to lose sight of what you really care about. Yeah, I think you're right.
The thing that's most important. All I want to do is protect the people that really matter to me. To fight for them. That's good enough, right?
Not everyone is strong enough to fight.
Huh?
It's something your dad told me once when he... Law, you know you're strong enough to fight. And you're strong enough to protect the people. Forget all the big stuff going on. Just don't lose sight of what you want to protect in the first place. Sound good?
Yeah. It's like a big weight's been lifted off my shoulder. I'll fight to protect the people around me. Just like I always have. I think that's best.
Yap. Ya udah buruan. Itu Danan lagi sekarat atau maut ya. Hey Dolim. You okay?
I apologize for making...
You mean hearing the origins of the...
Indeed. It's shocking to have so many things I thought to be indelible fade away and me.
Even I'm still not sure everything we've heard here is...
Let's not delude ourselves. If what we've heard is a lie, it's a rather elaborate one. I can only imagine that you must have been constantly feeling like this, ever since your memory returned, Alphen. And you as well, Shion. About your thorns, and being a maiden.
That's just part of being alive, don't you think?
Well, to say the least. But enough about me. I'm not concerned for myself. What concerns me is all of the other Renans out there.
When you say the other Renans, you mean the ones that are living on Lenegis or Dana, right?
Correct. Even if we stop the Great Spirit from annihilating Dana, our problems will still putting aside the untold state that Renna may be in. If we do not truly belong there, we will have to think long and hard about where it is that we wish to return to.
So, I guess your only real choices at this point are to either stay on Lenegis or come down to Dana, huh? And right now, Lenegis might not even be a safe option.
And at the same time, Danans are hardly likely to embrace Renans with open arms. If the issue is forced, things could turn dire. There is, after all, 3 centuries worth of hatred to overcome between us. And the victims of our rule have absolutely every right to feel animosity towards us Renans. Our own circumstances as the aggressors are irrelevant.
I didn't expect the former Lord of Menancia to be so down about people reconciling.
Menancia's fate was a stroke of good luck. There had been backlash over how it had been ruled, and I was blessed to have sympathizers among my ranks.
But things can still change if you have the right people to help lead the way. Isn't that what you hope to achieve on Lenegis?
Indeed. I have fully accepted the burden of that responsibility. In that regard, on that note, I have something of a favor to ask of you.
Oh?
I wish for you to serve as a mediator so that the Renans can live on Dana peaceably.
Yeah.
As the one and only blazing sword, I suspect the Danans may listen to what you have to say when...
And I take it that you'll be the one to represent the Renans?
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
I realize that I'm asking quite a lot of you. However, the fact of the matter is that it will take time for Renans to re-enter Danan society without any bloodshed. That is why...
You're the same as ever, Dohalim.
Is it too much?
No, relax. You get so tense and formal when you're asking for a favor. Listen, there's no need for that. We're friends.
You're too kind.
That's some high praise, Alphen.
Then I'll ask once again. This time just as friends.
You don't even need to ask.
Iya.
Of course I will.
Pasti.
Thank you.
Nah ya. Enough chit chat.
Like everyone's learning from their past and using it to create a better future.
What about you, Shion? How do you feel about the origin of the Renans?
To be honest, I'm not really all that shocked, actually. I mean, I might be a Renan in the literal sense, but I've never really felt like one of them. Right now, it's kind of a mystery.
How do you mean?
Because for a really, really long time, all I ever thought about was how I was going to die. Not if or when, but how.
Okay.
I thought I'd die alone. That fate had me in its steely grip. I would have never imagined that I'd be traveling with someone like you, fighting to save Renna and Dana. I mean, how could I have? It's been going on for 300 years. All this tragedy and destruction. When you consider the Helganquil's part in all this, it's been even longer than... It was Naori's hope that somehow, someone in the future would be able to stop it, before it was too late. How it fell on us, of all people, to heed that call, is a mystery.
I don't think Naori was hoping that we would just stop the world from getting destroyed. She considered me, a Danan, as a real person. And she very much cherished her own people, too. I don't think she wanted the world to be saved, just so they could go back to hurting each other.
Yeah.
Maybe...
Huh?
When we were talking to Kisara earlier, about all that stuff like everyone's needing to meet halfway and embrace each other's pain and suffering. She said that the first step down that path was for each of us to put aside our own hatred.
Ya,
That
pikirin
means
dulu.
forgiving other people, even and especially before they forgive you.
Forgiving. So it goes both ways,
Ya,
right?
agak susah sih
Is
kalau
that what you're saying?
terlalu kejam
Yeah.
ke kita.
I don't just mean
Susah
forgiving
juga
things
buat
that happened in the past
maafin.
either. Conflicts will keep happening. If we have any hope of moving on and building a better future, we have to all learn to forgive each other.
You know, you're
Nggak
right.
semua orang bisa sih.
People can hurt one another without even meaning to. I know that better than most, thanks.
It's not going to be easy getting past this pain, but if we can do it, I'm sure there'll come a time when we can all truly understand each other.
Ya,
I'm
semoga lah ya.
right with you, Shion. I too want to protect the world we live in. And all the people I think that's the very least I can do to repay Naori.
Yeah. I want a future that she would feel proud to live in, and I'm going to fight for it.
Whoa there, Savior Girl. We're here to save you too, you know.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I want to live, and that's the honest
Ya, aku
truth.
juga mau kamu hidup. No need sacrifice, you know.
Well, is everybody ready to do what needs to be done?
I am. There's a lot to think about, but at the end of the day, Dan is still in danger.
Iya.
I don't care who
Udah
we're up
minta
against.
tolong
Kick
itu
their
Dan.
ass.
What are your thoughts, Alphen? I want to know what's on your mind.
Like Law said, if we have to fight the Great Spirit on Renna, it's trying to rob us of our entire world.
Let's go lah, kita kalahin tuh Great Spirit. Bentukannya kayak apa ya, Great Spirit tuh?
That alone is enough to make it our enemy, but it's not only that. One way or another, I think beating the Great Spirit is going to be tied to us saving Shield.
You're saying there's a chance?
Semoga.
You're referring to the vision of destruction we all saw in Lenegis, I take it?
Yeah. 3 centuries ago, the astral energy that appeared at the spirit channeling ceremony showed Naori that vision.
Oh, mungkin Great Spirit tuh bentukan dari si Thorns tuh ya. Iya, mungkin.
Indeed. Shion's thorns are comprised of dark astral energy. The one type which we know is native only to Renna. And if Renna's great spirit is what's behind Dana's pending destruction, then...
Iya, udah pasti.
Shion's thorns are the great spirit? It's not actually on Renna like we thought?
We don't know anything for certain. At the very least, though, I think it's possible her thorns are a part of the Great Spirit.
While the main body resides in Renna.
Oke. Jadi dengan mengalahkan Great Spirit, otomatis ya Thorns-nya juga bakal hilang.
Shion.
Let's go Shion, semangat dikit, kita harus kalahan.
If these thorns really are a part of Renna's great spirit, I'm going to go over there and give it a piece of my mind and then some.
Yep. Let's go.
The question is, how do we confront it?
Coba minta bantuan apa tadi namanya, ribet banget dah.
The flower growing out of Renna is enormous, large enough to house the will of an entire planet. The Wedge and Lenegis were both hard enough for us to overcome in their own right. This is an altogether greater challenge for merely 6.
And we only know about the Thorns connection thanks to Naori.
Hevric 35 has been observing the great astral spirit this. It wouldn't ask us to fight it unless it has a plan of some sort. Let's go see what.
Oke, kita tanya dulu ke si Hargen Quill.
Let's go give Hevric 35.
Hevric 35.
So if the Sovereign and Maiden were originally boot-up programs for Lenegis, what about now?
Even with the Forbidden Zone in ruins and the Renaissance stolen, Lenegis is functioning fine.
Iya, masih hidup.
It needed us before. It doesn't appear to now.
First they lumber you with a position you never asked for, then you're discarded like you're nothing? Who the hell do they think they are?
More importantly, who do they think we are? We might not even factor into their list of concerns.
I just hope everyone on Lenegis is safe.
Semoga.
Worst comes to worst, Lenegis is equipped with a large number of starships the people can escape in. As long as the whole satellite doesn't suddenly explode or something, they should be fine.
Wait, explode?
In any case, if we're truly going to make a difference, it's on Renna we're needed, not Lenegis. The people there will be fine. I'm sure of it.
Semoga.
Right.
Coba kita cover lagi. Kita muncul sesuatu. Aduh, udah jam 12. Masih tidak ada sesuatu ya. Oh, itu dah. Dan kita hanya menonton, tidak menolong. Bro. Di mana sih dia? Sentral ya? Bro, bangun bro.
Do you have your answer for me?
Yeah.
To ask something. You're asking us to fight an entire planet. How exactly do you expect us to do that?
Ya, harusnya gimana?
You must have something up your sleeve, or else you wouldn't put us.
The great astral spirit is an immense being, but its actual will does not run throughout its entire body. Rather, its will is derived from the core, which supports the rest of the body, and is where its strength is most densely concentrated. Therefore, if you destroy the core, the great spirit shall become unable to maintain sentience and return to being ordinary astral energy.
And how are we supposed to destroy that core?
By using the RENAS Alma.
Rena, salam lagi.
You will also need the assistance of both the Sovereign and the Maiden. They are our best tools for suppressing and controlling astral energy. Using their powers, the Maiden shall seal the great astral spirit within her body, and the Sovereign shall wield the power of the RENAS Alma to destroy it.
Hold on. That sounds a lot like what Shion described before.
Yeah, killing herself to take out the thorns with her.
She was actually right all along.
By my calculations, your powers combined should be sufficient to destroy the great astral spirit and disperse its energy widely enough to make it difficult to reform.
What will happen to the Maiden once we manage to beat the great astral spirit?
Any matter contained within the field of destruction shall be erased.
So it really will kill me.
Oh no.
This method is the most simple one available to destroy the Great Spirit, and is therefore our most reliable option.
What are our other options?
There is little reason to consider alternative courses of action when the most optimal among them is so clear.
You don't get
No.
I promised Shion that she wouldn't die. That we'd save the world without needing to
Iya,
sacrifice
nggak
her.
ada sacrifice.
We didn't fight this whole time just to give up on her at the very end. If there's any other way to take out the Great Spirit, I want to hear it.
This plan shall lead to the fewest losses in preserving your world. Abandoning it is irrational.
That's...
Oh
it is
no.
vital that you proceed with this plan. A part of Rena's great astral spirit already resides within her. 300 years ago, the Great Spirit descended upon Lenegis in an attempt to assume direct control of the spirit channeling ceremony. We have reason to believe the Great Spirit left part of itself behind, and that it now resides in the Maiden.
Which would make Alphen's earlier hypothesis correct.
That part inside the Maiden belongs to the core, and can be used by the Great Astral Spirit to revive itself. So long as it remains, it will be all but impossible to fully eradicate the Great Spirit.
No.
That is why it is necessary for it to be vanquished only once it is whole. Without the Maiden's direct control over the Great Spirit, attacking it is futile and will only serve to strengthen it.
No.
Wait. Naori said that the RENAS Alma can suppress the self-realization of astral energy, and that the thorns can be neutralized by placing them in it.
Iya. Ya pokoknya cari RENAS Alma dulu
Can't
dah.
the same also be done to the Great Spirit, seeing as the thorns are simply part of it?
Well, can it?
It is true that the RENAS Alma is capable of what you suggest, and could contain the Great Astral Spirit.
Yes!
However, doing so requires fine control on the level of the spirit channeling ceremony, considering that the RENAS Alma was previously lost when that ceremony failed. I cannot allow it. Its uncertainty is simply too great.
What does that mean for us if you won't allow it?
Iya.
Your starship will not be restored.
Ya elah lu gitu apa lu ngambekan.
Why you?
Fine then. I'd rather stay here and rot than do it your way.
Alphen?
Whatever we do, if we mess up, Dana's screwed. The Great Spirit will destroy it. If you're fine letting that happen, and we have nothing to gain either way, then I'd rather do nothing. We want to stop Dana from getting destroyed. We want to save it. But not if it means having to sacrifice one of us in the
Yup.
process.
If all you're gonna do is sit back and watch us where it's safe, then quit ordering us around and shut up.
Iya, mending lu yang sacrifice dah. Si ini nih tiduran lu gak guna anjir.
What you say is irrational. Be that as it may, I shall accede to your demand.
You'll agree?
I am an observer. The Sovereign, Maiden, and Rena's Alma are my species' greatest achievement. I wish to see how well they work against the Great Spirit in light of our demise by its hands.
But what are we supposed to do about the Rena's Alma? One of your buddies ran off with it back on Lenegus.
It is likely that the Rena's Alma is with the Great Spirit, functioning as a catalyst for it to receive Dana's astral energy.
So our only option to retrieve it is to head straight for the Great Spirit and take it back?
Nggak sama kalau tadi langsung diambil mah.
According to my observations, the astral energy is most densely concentrated in the center of Renna, where the Great Spirit's core is located.
Elah.
So right in the middle of that giant flower then.
I have one more question. You've said that Rena's great astral spirit is already integrated with the planet. What will happen to Renna once it vanishes?
Without the will of the Great Spirit, Renna is predicted to
Udahlah, nggak apa-apa dah.
Even in such a scenario, the energy will disperse, and the Great
Toh nggak ada orang juga kan di arena, pada di Renegis
So
semua.
you're saying that even if we manage to beat the Great Spirit without destroying it, we'll still be in danger?
Likely, the collapse will occur in stages. It is recommended that you all escape before the final stage.
Okay.
Man, I wish that thing would tell it to us straight for once.
Hevrek 35 and the others have gotten used to hypothesizing from afar is all.
Semoga ya, kasihan kamu harus hidup sampai akhir.
Fix our starship. We're going to Renna.
Excellent.
But I want to make one thing clear. We're doing this for ourselves, to protect what matters to us. We're not doing it for your sake.
Iya, gue mau jadi slave lagi ya.
Remember that.
It matters little to me. The end result shall be the same. Repair work on your starship has commenced. You'll have to wait until it's finished.
Okay. Okay.
Man, is it too much to ask for Hevrek 35 to talk like a normal person? I swear I can feel my brain starting to fry after
Okay, mas bro.
listening to all that complicated stuff.
Kita udahin sekarang atau?
We're mostly done with him. Now all we have to do is rest up and wait. Once the Fall Knights is good to go again, we'll be taking off for Renna right away.
Apakah kita udahin sekarang? Apa kita lanjut? Sekarang udah jam 12 lewat. Dan streaming udah ini 1 jam 20 menit. Ntar kita baca dulu deh.
Is the Rena's Alma really our only hope against the Great Spirit? There has to be another way, right?
Shion's Fire Master Core was able to suppress astral energy to prevent it from gaining sentience, right? Couldn't we make use of that somehow?
I'm not sure. In small doses, maybe. And with the amount of energy we're talking about here.
Back in Calaglia, the Blazing Sword was able to take in a whole spirit vessel's worth of energy. If it has the capacity to manage that, it can do this, right?
Except after it absorbed the energy, it ended up releasing it all moments later, remember? Let's not forget, it nearly killed you. Besides, this is the Great Spirit we're talking about, not a paltry vessel. Even if I could use the Master Core, your body wouldn't be able to take the strain of channeling that much energy.
Hevrek 35 didn't mention it, and it did not seem the type to skimp on details. So assuming it's even possible, the chances are slim to none.
You're probably right.
Sekarang kah? Coba kita kesini dulu. Sebentar. It will take some time to complete repair your starship. I suggest that you all get some rest in the interim. Oke, kita tidur dulu. Dari Mario, oke.
You still thinking about what the scientists told us? About where Renans really come from?
Udah lah, masih dipikirin lah.
I am, but not for myself.
You're worried about the future of the Renan people.
Kan kita berarti sama aja dong, Dana dan Rena.
Will only give the Danans further reason to resent us.
Jadi harusnya bisa hidup berdampingan.
To confront this truth head on, don't you?
Ya, tapi gimana dia ngasih tahu aja ya, si Dolim ke yang lain.
Well, I did declare that I would live my life for the living, and not the dead. Even as I dream of retirement, I shall remain dedicated to the cause.
I'm sure you'll do great.
Now that I think about it, I don't believe I've ever heard you criticize or reproach us Renans even once.
I'm no saint. I have skeletons in my closet too. There was definitely a time when I hated Renans for who they were. I hated them just for being Renan. But you changed that, Dohalim. You gave me an opportunity to see them in a different light. Thanks to your reforms, we were able to stand next to Renans not as slaves, but as equals for the first time in our lives. Of course, I'm sure there were some Renans who still hated us on the inside.
Pasti.
But we knew that not all of you were like that.
Itu lu harus yang nge-fix ya, Dolim. Tugas lu.
When it comes down to it, Renans are just people. They can be good or bad, just...
That is, in essence, the heart of your approach, isn't it? That we're all people.
Yeah, it is. When you can pull someone aside and talk to them one-on-one, then you have the chance to come to an understanding. But as soon as you stereotype, that chance goes away, and you stop thinking of them as people that you can relate to.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about massive numbers of Renans and Danans alike. Realistically speaking, surely they won't all be able to get along.
Even if we end up butting heads with one person, maybe we'll find better luck among their friends. If we can build a society that works like that, that'll be something worth nurturing and protecting.
So you wish for people to form real bonds and do away with the hierarchy outright? To deal with one another as humans, and nothing more. That's the ideal future you hope to see when this is all over?
Yep.
Yes, I do. I think it would make for a fine tribute to my brother's legacy. Though, that said, I would be doing it for the people of the future first and foremost. Do you still plan to return to Lenegis when this is over?
Indeed I do. I don't know whether I'll be able to reside in Lenegis proper, however. My first order of business may be to find somewhere to live.
You'll always have a home in Menancia, you know.
As I shall ever keep in mind.
Well, if you ever need a helping hand, don't hesitate to come get me. I'll always be there for you.
Tuh. Tuh dipanggilnya.
Never mind. Thank you.
Tuh. Lu panggilnya Ra juga dong. Ra.
I appreciate your patience as I work all this out.
Don't even mention it. And really, when you think about it, now that we know the two of us aren't so different after all, don't you think that brings down a barrier that used to be between us?
You know, I hadn't actually thought of it that way before. But I do like the sound of it.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Makin dekat mereka berdua ya. Anda berdua lagi. Halo.
Hey, why'd you call me here? Was there something you wanted to talk about?
Well, if everything we've heard about the Great Spirit is true, then we're getting close to our final battle.
Wah, udah mau tamat coy.
So I wanted to apologize while I can.
Enggak, lu jangan kasih dead flag gitu dong.
I was being real stupid before. About whether Dana's will had been controlling us and all that.
Oh iya itu.
Okay. I get why you're angry now. Anybody would be if something they trusted was being questioned. So, I'm sorry, Rinwell. Really. I should have kept my mouth shut.
It's okay.
No, Law. Honestly, I think you might have been onto something. Of course you were worried. Who wouldn't be if they found out there might be some invisible force pulling our strings this whole time?
But you really trust Dana's will, don't you? Is it because you can sense it a lot more than the rest of us? Because you can understand it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be part of it. But I think I also want to believe it's good.
Believe?
Remember how I used to really resent coming from a family of mages?
Yeah, of course. Because you were always on the run and had to live in hiding.
When we rescued Zephyr and I finally decided to come along with you all, something changed inside me. It was the first time I felt like my powers had any meaning, even if that meaning was only helping you guys fight. Then, when I felt Dana's will, I was overwhelmed by how vast and warm it was. It made me want to believe my powers were made to connect with it. It made me believe I had a bigger purpose.
So that's why you hope it doesn't turn out to be bad. You almost need it to be kind.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Then I promise I'll lay off bad-mouthing it.
You will?
There's no way for me to know for sure one way or the other, right? But you trust it, Rinwell, and that's enough for me. So I'll trust it because you do.
Remember what I said about neither planet's great spirit reaching us here?
Yeah?
That's not quite true. I can feel just a little bit of Rena's inside you and everyone else.
You... what?
I sensed it when we first got here. It's a really small amount, so it doesn't feel like it has a will of its own. But I think that's how Dana's energy probably is too.
So you're saying there's a little bit of Dana's will inside each of us? In a way, doesn't that mean we're all Dana's will?
What?
Well, like you said, unless Dana's energy comes together, it has no will. So if we all have a little bit of Dana's astral energy inside us...
Yeah, maybe...
Everett 35 might know the answer. But, you know what? I don't need to ask it. My will is my own. I fight for who I want to fight for. That's who I am now. Who I've become. So thanks, Rinwell, for sharing that with me.
Seneng banget lihat mereka berdua dah.
To be honest, the only reason I was suspicious of Dana's will, well, I mean, it mostly was... I feel like you and I had grown apart lately, and I was worried it was because...
Huh?
Never mind. Just forget about it.
Huh? No, what were you saying?
Saying? I don't remember saying anything.
Now you won't tell me what you were thinking?
No, that's not what I was saying.
Spit it out already.
Emang seru lihat mereka berdua. Sekarang bagian enggak Alpen dan Sion kah?
You sure you don't want to get some rest?
Emang udah ada porsinya masing-masing ya. Oke.
I've got too much on my mind. Especially knowing how
At least pegangan tangan lah berdua lah.
How are you doing, Xian?
Same as you, still trying to absorb everything.
Baju udah koplolan tuh.
Remember when it was so simple? We were only fighting all the lords on Dana? All of that feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Ages and ages ago. Everything that's happened since we first met. So many fights, so much chaos, so many wonderful people.
If I hadn't run into you that day, well, I wouldn't have met all of you. I never would have held the blazing sword or looked for something more. I wouldn't have my memories back. I'd still be a faceless slave, like as not long dead.
Kita nikmatin momen.
Hey,
Melihat mereka
Alvin,
berdua.
I want you to promise me something.
Apa tuh?
Yeah?
If we can't find the Rena's Alma, there's something I want you to do. Like Hevrect 35 said, the only way we can end the Great Spirit for good is to go after both the main body in Renna and the thorns in me. I need you to promise me, Alvin, that if for some reason we can't get the Rena's Alma back, you'll use the blazing sword to destroy the Great Spirit, and me along with it.
Nggak mau.
It's true the blazing sword may not have the strength of the Rena's Alma, but it's taken us this far. It's slain lords and beasts. At the very least, it has to be worth a try.
You can't be serious. Have you forgotten everything that
Listen,
we've...
the Great Spirit isn't just our problem. It's a threat to our entire world, Renans and Danans alike. We don't know what's going to happen when we face it, but we need to be prepared for anything. We can't second-guess ourselves when the time comes. I promise you, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I'm prepared to fight with absolutely everything I've got. But if it comes down to it, I need you to be prepared too.
Nggak mau kehilangan kamu sih, Yon.
Okay.
Pokoknya kita harus nemuin Nana Salma dah. Harus banget ini.
going to fight this until the very end. I hope you can forgive me for that.
Alvin. Okay, I understand. And I'll forgive you.
Thank you, Xion.
So it's a promise then?
Yeah, it's a promise.
I remember how I felt the first time you touched me. My thorns made any contact a mistake no one would ever make twice. After they'd seen what could happen, fear would always linger behind their eyes. In my entire life, I never had someone willingly reach out to me. But when you reached out to me and gently took my hand, you didn't react at all. It was so easy for you. I don't have words for the shock I felt in that moment.
That's because I couldn't feel pain back then.
Iya.
Even once you could, though, you still chose to keep reaching out to me. And when you did, I felt this warmth that I had never known before.
Tegang aja.
Still, I hate having to see you suffer through it every time you do.
You won't have to worry about that for much longer.
Iya, ntar kita bakal bebasin.
I do, because Xion,
Jangan.
You can tell me once my thorns are gone.
Oke.
Okay?
Lucu banget sih, Yon. Oke, Sion.
Yeah.
There's promise.
Okay.
Ya, kita pasti bakal bebasin kamu dari thorns itulah.
Everybody get enough rest? We ready for this?
Yeah, we should probably get moving.
Agreed. Can't stand around waiting all day.
Our task is relatively straightforward. We need only descend down to Renna, defeat the Great Spirit, and restore stability to both worlds.
We're fighting for a new future for both Dana and Renna.
Right. We've come this far. We will save our worlds. That's a promise.
Then let's go, everybody. We've got one last wall to tear down.
Repairs on your starship are complete. Everything is in working order.
Is that you, Hevrek 35? You can see us from where you are?
Serem amat lu, kayak penguntit lu.
Within the bounds of Deg Faisal.
Sounds like someone's a peeping Tom.
Maybe we should give Hevrek 35 a break. It has been stuck in this tiny facility for a very, very long time.
I have unlocked all functions on your starship. You can
warp drive? Wait, you mean like what the red women used on us?
Oke, bisa apa namanya? Teleport ya.
It's possible that the red women may have found a way to activate it on the starship. They are Helganquil.
Using the warp drive, you should be able to breach Rena's atmosphere without being detected.
Oh, okay.
Wait, should?
You'll need to be careful. Due to the force field surrounding Renna, the ship will be unable to go any further than the surface of the planet.
So, once we reach the shell, it appears we'll have to infiltrate the core by foot. Understood.
Siap.
We gotta go all the way down just walking?
Will all the Helganquil go back to normal once we defeat the Great Spirit? I have a strange feeling we're going to have to fight them before this is all over.
The extinction of my people is inevitable at this stage. As such, it would be illogical to risk the success of the mission in a vain attempt to save my kind.
We understand.
Can't that thing lighten up a bit? Everything it says seems to be about what's illogical.
Well, come on, bro.
Tuh.
Did you just
Get going.
I have one last question.
Si Rao nggak bisa baca situasi ya.
What?
As Sovereign, your identification number indicates that you are well past your predicted life expectancy. Similarly, the Maiden lacks any identification number, as her function should have been rendered unnecessary. Despite this, the two of you continue to exist. Why?
Pakai ditanya.
We exist because others have entrusted this to us. Over the years, many people have come together and sworn to see this through to the end.
You mean it is because of multiple chance interactions? The likelihood of such events is statistically improbable. Why have you two continued to persist under these conditions?
Pakai ditanya.
It's hard to explain. To be honest, I don't think it's something an observer could understand.
Itu rambutnya Sion melawan hukum gravitasi ya. Oke, kita save dulu boys. Kita lanjut besok lah ya. Kayaknya besok bakal jadi tamat ya mungkin. Jadi akhir perjalanan Alpen dan Sion. Dan semoga Sion berhasil membebaskan dirinya dari thorns itulah ya. Semoga happy ending. No one dies and ya. Semoga aku bisa ngelihat Alpen dan Sion nikah gitu. Tolong ya, Bandai. Aku sangat berharap Bandai. Oke, mungkin segini dulu aja. Aku udah lumayan ngantuk juga sebenarnya. Cuman karena ceritanya makin seru, walaupun tadi ada berbelit-belit ya. Berbelit-belitnya tuh yang bikin kesel tuh yang pas bagian itu loh, bagian Renas Alma itu lo tinggal ambil doang malah banyak ngomong. Jadi kita ini apa namanya, harus nyuri Renas Almanya lagi di Rena nanti. Oke, mungkin segitu dulu aja. Bentar. Streamlab mana Streamlab? Oke. Oke, selamat tinggal. Kita berjumpa di next episode. Sorry sekali lagi kalau omonganku nggak jelas ya, karena aku emang orang yang begini ya. Sulit kalau menjelaskan sesuatu itu sulit. Jarang. Iya, Sion, santai, sabar. Sabar Sion, aku mau closing dulu. Ya, sekali lagi sorry kalau suaraku nggak jelas atau omonganku nggak jelas, dan mungkin ada nge-lag juga tadi. pas lagi cutscene atau lagi gameplaynya. Oke. Sekali lagi terima kasih. Selamat tinggal. Kita berjumpa di next streaming. Dadah. Semoga besok gak tamat sih. Kalau tamat, aku nggak tahu mau main game apa lagi. Dadah.